Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan, and we are here today to talk about the Challenge Battle of the Eras, Episode 9. I'm joined by my lovely co-host. We have the Vermontian Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone.
And we're welcoming back our Southern co-host, Luke Muncie.
What's up, guys?
Luke, you weren't here for last week for Episode 8, the whole Corey, Derek elimination, the whole Rachel and Avery elimination, where Avery looked basically concussed by the end of it. Just give us your brief thoughts on last week's episode that you missed.
Felt bad for Avery. She was a wasted spot. She had just one big moment that wasn't even that big. Derek's leg was hurt, so no matter how much I have disdain from throwing his life jacket, he put up a good fight in the elimination for sure. But I think it was time for him to go home just because he could not contribute to the team at all. Other than that, I thought today, what happened last week? I don't remember. So I'm ready to talk about tonight.
Like Zoe and I, were you shocked that we're 10 men, 10 women, and yet we're not going into an individual format this episode? Rachel, team of one.
Shocked, but also I know they love to milk a storyline that we don't necessarily need. So I kind of anticipated that.
For
but
sure.
It's crazy. It made tonight's episode great.
It did have a huge factor in tonight.
Yeah, and we're just to jump straight into the daily challenge because I think that's what gets the ball rolling. And here's what I'll say: simpler is better sometimes, because I think this daily challenge. If you like this daily challenge, I liked it too. Players were standing on top of these crates over water, and they had to hold on as long as they could. Classic type of daily challenge across all reality TV shows: The Challenge, Survivor, Big Brother. But before they did that, though, they had a math portion where all the different eras had to solve 27 math equations, and based on how many of the equations you solve in the allotted time they had, you get that many pegs for your team. I didn't like this part. And I like seeing people be bad at math because I'm good at math. It's funny sometimes. But I just thought it was unnecessary.
It definitely favored Rachel, without question. And the entire time, I knew that Zoe also watched it at home and thought, these are easy math problems, because they were the easiest math problems.
Well, and for people with a group of 7 people doing them, there is no reason they should have missed any. I will say having to do the magnetic numbers instead of just allowing them to write it with chalk, I think was stupid. Because I think it took more time for them to put the numbers out there. Whatever. It was painful. And,
I did chuckle that when they threw up, because it's usually addition, subtraction, multiplication. They threw up a square root sign, and Cara Maria acted like it was an alien.
It's wild though, because square roots are not hard, especially the square roots they were using. They were using numbers lower than 100. So
yeah. 36 and 91.
She saw that, and it was a foreign language though. She was just like, this does not compute in my lifetime. She's like, you know what? I'm barely wrapping my head around addition. I think a lot of people are gonna weirdly relate to Cara in this episode because there are a lot of people out there who really do struggle with math. Laurel, I was actually on the same boat with her, saying addition, subtraction, it's easy, everyone should do it. But I did have a problem with Laurel saying that she's gotten 100% in every math class she's ever taken. You guys have worked in schools, obviously, you guys. It's so hard to get 100% in any class. You miss one homework assignment, you miss one question on one test, you're at a 99.8. To say you got 100% in every math class you've ever taken, that's just bullshit. Say you got an A in every class, 100% every math class, it just takes one question wrong to not get 100%.
I believe her. I don't know. I do think some people are just math people, and math is the class that you probably could get hundreds on every assessment if you knew the material. So
yeah, you don't carry your numbers in some of your work, the teacher will mark you down a point. Math teachers I say this
I also have to consider, yeah, for sure, but I'll have to consider what math classes did Laurel have to take to be a veterinarian. A lot of those are science type classes, not math. I believe her. We have no way to fact check, so I hate to say she's not telling the truth. But you said a lot of people would relate to Cara. I think a lot of people relate to Laurel in the
Yeah.
sense it's like just
I did too, because like if she said A plus every class, fully agree. 100%, big difference. That's where like my fact check like brain goes like, it's just so hard to get 100%. And like I say this as a person who I remember I had a math class one year where my teacher kept giving me 99.8%. It was just bullshit. But it's because it was my fault too.
I think you're feeling a little triggered.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Of all the things Little's done this season, saying she got 100% on every math test, that's where I draw the line.
It's the most egregious offense that she's had. Yeah, it could be hyperbole and it could be absolutely accurate. But either way, it was a silly wrinkle to this challenge. And I don't think anyone really came out of it looking very impressive.
I get they have to fill 90 minutes, which we used to beg for. At times it feels like pulling teeth. But there's 20 of them left as they announced. It would have been really cool to have had 20 people hanging up on a wall and just start the daily.
Yeah.
Like first team out, you're out. Last one up, you win for your team.
But this is even more so why did the format not change last week? This very easily could have been an individual challenge.
Yeah.
Would have been a great individual challenge. And plus, I mean, even if we're just talking about the team factor, Rachel had to go first and be there on her own, which then gives all the other teams and like, a gauge of how long they need to be up there. Now, they didn't do that well, but if they all could have done as well as Rachel, like that would have been a distinct advantage. I think it would have been just better just to have all 20 up there, like you're saying, Luke. That way, you have one person left standing and that person looks even more impressive. And I
Yeah.
just think the entertainment aspect of it is just better.
And I'm not saying they're rigged at all, but like we can never know because they just put up the clock whenever they want to, which we ask for, but like it's not a running clock. It would have been just, you're right. This could have been better. Not mad, just better.
The second I saw this challenge, I was like, oh, this is the one Rachel can win by herself. Like if she's going to win a challenge by herself, it's going to be this one.
Yeah. So before we jump into Rachel right now, I do want to just note a couple people. Nehemiah was very impressive on the male side of this daily challenge, held in pretty long for Era 2. Was probably the reason they didn't come in last, especially when like Derek, Aviv, and Ryan all fell instantly, which shocked me because like they don't have a ton of weight to hold up.
Aviv didn't even get up there. I think that was the struggle, honestly.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think
yeah. I would have thought she could have stayed up there for like a long time with her like, her body type and she's obviously like muscular and strong. Devin held in the longest for Era 3, which I think caught me by surprise. I mean, it kind of shows that he was the target because he was really putting it all out there to keep himself safe.
I actually think Avery would have crushed this challenge.
She would have.
Honestly, yeah. Naya, my God.
Yeah, Naya and Tori's body types aren't meant for this challenge. And Corey is a meathead. And Jordan has one hand.
Yeah.
So he's Jordan though, so you expect him to do everything flawlessly regardless. I was super surprised that Devin was the last person standing, but kudos to him.
I just don't even think Corey wanted to be up there either, because I just don't think he really cares about, Devin or Tori being safe after everything that's gone on with this era. I felt like the same way for Cara, where she was up there, and I feel like she could have stayed up longer, but she's like, am I going to really fight that hard for Laurel right now? No, let's just dip out right now.
I think she did care about Ryan though.
Yeah, I think she gave 100%. I don't think she gave 110%. And that's, the difference. Where like,
I think she gave 99.8%. Era 4, my big takeaway is Josh. What a cheater.
I noticed that really early on. I was like, are we just not going to say anything about this production? I don't think, honestly, I could go either way. Yes, he's a cheater. No, he is that dumb. He didn't realize he was doing it.
The daily challenge started, and I thought Josh was going to be the first person to fall because he's clumsy and he's not good with heights, and even though he's in better shape, he's just like, this is the stuff Josh sucks at. So when he was still up there, I was like, oh my God, Josh, I'm so proud of you. And so when I found out he was cheating the whole time, I was like, well, you know what? That's still smarter that you cheated because you would have fell instantly if you didn't.
And if I hadn't noticed, I mean,
Teresa and Jay, I think, did a similar thing on one of those daily challenges from that one season, Double Agents. Yeah, where they'd hang off the cliff, and then I remember someone posted a photo, and Teresa was just basically standing on a little ledge at the bottom, and that's why they were able to stay up for so long.
oh, Teresa.
Zoe's favorite challenger.
I have nothing nice to say.
She's been vocal recently.
I'm blocked.
About what we won't know because she's so cryptic and vague. And she's also begged people not to mention her. She's not coming back. And then anyways, I was surprised that Kylan didn't last longer.
I think it's hard for the bigger dudes, honestly. Like I thought all those boys on that team were gonna have a hard time.
For me, it was just more so that like the Devin idea that he knew he was a target, that Kylan would be like, there is absolutely no way. But I don't know.
Maybe Kylan just saw Kaycee up there and was like, Kaycee's gonna last longer than me anyway, so who cares?
Fair. Theo wastes space. Olivia severely like just not on this season. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
we do our fantasy league, and Olivia has -5 points for like just being wallpaper on this season. They show her and Theo's relationship at like the club, but nothing really ever serious. Like they're not here. Theo's more in the game, but like
she needed Nerys here.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, Hirose would have killed this challenge, but
totally miss him. Anyway, we can't spend too much time dwelling on all the people we want back.
Well, I mean, Kellyanne would have killed this challenge.
She killed it too. I actually am surprised Michelle didn't do better on this challenge.
I thought she'd do good too, because she's always posting about doing Pilates and stuff like that. I thought like she's a yoga person, and like Survivor, they do these challenges too. So I thought she'd do well.
And she's not very heavy, so like, whatever.
Their team mostly just didn't have a lot of pegs either, across 7 people, because they had 14 and they had 2 each. Which, if I was one of those teams, I would have made the strategy. It's like specifically like Theo, Josh, Kylan, just fall and let the girls try their best.
Give Kaycee 3, give Michelle 3. Whatever. Kaycee did great. Devin did okay. Nehemiah did great. Rachel did great.
And yeah, back to Rachel now. Rachel, obviously, clearly the star of this daily challenge. And I think being on a team of 1 has been the best thing for her. Because Luke mentioned before, like it's actually like a thing where even though it's, you're going up against all these people, sometimes you get put in that underdog role, and it's the best thing that could happen to you as a challenger. Like Derek became a legend because he went into 5 eliminations on the Gauntlet too, and if not for that, he would not have the same reverence today. Wes going into all those eliminations on Fresh Meat, Cara breaking her hand, made everyone love her on Free Agents. These things where you're put in these underdog roles can just maybe be the best thing for your game. And now everyone in the house they're kind of rooting for Rachel. She's rooting for herself, and she's a badass competitor who can just kind of take anyone on.
Yeah, no notes.
She's a force to be reckoned with. She's already intimidating, but now I feel like she has like more of a fire than we've seen when she has like allies. Like I feel like she is just more fired up and motivated to win.
And again, I'm taking back that she's only 4 years older than Jenny West. Like, she's the same age as everybody else. Like, TJ made the comment at the end, like, Era 4, you're supposed to be fresh out of school. I'm like, Era 4's average at this point is older than Era 3's, I'm pretty sure. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So 2 things can be like true, and it's like the daily challenge was tailor-made for Rachel to win because they didn't want to figure out what would happen if she didn't win in terms of formatting, especially there not being a male target for Era 1. TJ kind of explained what they would do, I think, at one point, but it would have been confusing. It would have been a mess. At the same time, if you were going to throw a bone to someone, it has to be Era 1 after especially the bullshit last week in the daily challenge where they had no shot of even winning, because like it came down to who had the most amount of people left, and they only had 2 people in the challenge. So they've been struggling. It's good to give them a bone. Plus, Rachel did have the most impressive performance. Makes sense to me.
Again, no notes.
Anything else we got to say about this daily challenge then?
Nah.
All right, we got Rachel in power, and we have Devin and Tori going directly into elimination. Kyland and Kaycee as the targets, as well as Hera 2 targets. Laurel and Ryan. And it's an interesting scenario where Laurel is quite clearly a big target, but Rachel has a relationship with Ryan. Era 4, though, tries to appeal to Rachel in saying that, like, hey, like Kylan specifically is like, hey, we've won the most daily challenges. We have the most ability to look out for you. And then you have Kaycee, who at the bar, at the club, she tries to appeal to Rachel, who has a friendship/close relationship with Josh. And because of that, Kaycee says, hey, I know we haven't really talking about it, but because of your connection to Josh, our alliance has kind of always been like a thing we don't talk about.
I mean, grass for those straws, but like, you can't have unspoken alliances with people you've never spoken to. Like, it's not like they did 7 seasons together and were allies then and just played it cool this season. They've never met before this.
I honestly think this is where just like owning who you are would have been more helpful. I don't know that there's anything Kaycee could have said to like sway Rachel away from her, but instead of pretending like you had her back, which you absolutely did not, just saying, I have a lot of friends in this game and I'm not used to having to like work that hard to keep myself safe, but I'm going to keep doing well. I do have a lot of friends and from here on out I can have your back. Something like that. Just like it just came across very strange.
Here's the thing, Zoe. I think Rachel was actually swayable, and I think Kylan's like argument of like we have the most power, we are strong allies you could have throughout the game, and also I think Rachel has just grown a disdain from some of Laurel's actions from All Stars in this season to where like what, that'd be a big move. But when Kaycee said we've had an unspoken alliance, you could just see something turning in Rachel's stomach of like, I cannot trust this person under any circumstances. This is bullshit. And the funniest part is that that line Kaycee said would have definitely worked on like a Spies, Lies, and Allies rookie.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My thing, though, is why not reference the daily prior? Like, hey, I know the last time you were out on your own. I know you're close with Josh. We're bound to go individual soon. You could totally join us and work with us. I mean, she also has to know that Tori and Rachel are close. She could say, if Tori survives this against Laurel, then you could join me, Tori, Josh, anybody else. It just didn't. She didn't try.
I also don't think they did enough throwing Laurel under the bus in this episode because Laurel's already thrown a daily challenge to get out a woman that she deems a threat. And Rachel, I think, is a lot more intimidating than Emily is in terms of like ability to win this game. So I was really confused why no one was bringing that up, and I think it's because they're all terrified of Laurel because she's insane. But they really should have been pointing out the fact that one, she is a hazard to everyone's mental health and just like peace of mind, but also her word is bullshit. Like there is nothing that she could tell you that you're guaranteed she's going to back up because she was targeting her own teammate.
Ryan said what you've said on this podcast multiple times, Zoe, this at the beginning of the episode, where people just tolerate Laurel. The only person who has her back is Johnny, and yeah, he's scared. But Brian also said in the middle of the episode, he's like, you know what? I'm thinking about it. Rachel might throw me in, like type stuff, and it felt like a very sincere thing as he was just doing the math of like, yeah, Laurel sucks, and she's a big threat, so she could throw me in even though we're friends for 10 years. And also Kyland and Kaycee, having an alliance with them as strong players, that does make sense. It's almost like he accepted it and even said it to Laurel, at one point in the episode, which they don't really interact much. So like, I feel like that almost made it real because like he wouldn't say that out loud.
I have a slight tangent, and I promise not to be long. But I'm not sure if recently you've seen Laurel bad-mouthing Zach on social media. All because Zach gave fair critiques on his podcast about her and said, I love Laurel, but in order to have a successful podcast, I've got to be honest. And Laurel's went on a tirade since then. Laurel, the reason nobody likes Laurel and Bananas is scared of her is because she only likes people who feed her yes. Yes, Laurel, you're great. Yes, Laurel, you got a 100. Yes, Laurel, you're this, you're that, you're the other. She is truly just like not well. However, it did work to her benefit today because where she outsmarted Kaycee is by saying, you can be my number one. I have nobody in this game. Sure, what Zoe said is true. Rachel was just thinking long term, I guess, and saw how many people that Kaycee would have above her. But it was Laurel's best defense, and she took it.
Yeah, I think I don't know if that was more persuasive or just the fact that Rachel knew she was going to blow up an alliance if she went the other way.
I like that Rachel even said when she was pondering, if I send in Kaycee, Kyland, Devin, Tori, and get rid of Devin and Kaycee, then Josh and Tori are for sure my number ones. It
Yeah.
was smart.
Very smart. And let's talk about the Vacation Alliance as a whole too, because at the beginning of the episode, we saw a little scene where they talked about how they Devin and Tori self-nominated and Kaycee self-nominated because they thought to each other, well, if we're the nominees, they're going to keep each other safe. Not really thinking about the idea that if one of them comes in last place, as it did this week, that they could be pitted against each other.
They were just really anticipating one of their teams winning, which
Yeah.
I understand because they have. Production almost set this up in a way just by like lulling them into this false sense of security.
If you watch Spies, Lies, and Allies, Double Agents, etc., they kept creating formats and changing it in their favor. So I don't blame them for having this false sense of security. It's just great to see it go the other way for once.
Mm-hmm. Josh got a lot of heat for everything that went down, though. What did you guys think about that?
Deserved. I mean, he has tons of friends, and that is wonderful, but he was not persuasive at all with Rachel. And I don't think she could have been persuaded by Josh, but he also wasn't sticking his neck out at all. And it's been a trend. And Corey should have known that Josh wasn't going to have his back, but like he's also stuck his neck out for Bananas, who is actively working against the people Josh should be working with. I just think that he is a bumbling idiot a lot of times and can't separate game from real life. Bananas will still talk to you if you vote him in. He will.
Yeah, he might target you on the next season if he feels like it. But again, none of these guys see Josh as a threat. So there's really nothing that is going to force them to target him actively in future seasons. He hasn't proven himself to be a final threat yet.
You know, it's such a mixed bag for me because I do think there was like, this is where like game and real life does blur because him and Rachel have a very, very close relationship, it seems. Like they're like very much friends outside the show. And obviously him and Kaycee are friends outside the show. But he might actually be closer to Rachel outside the show than he is Kaycee at this point because they both live in Miami. He trains with her all the time, you know? And I do think there's a factor of like Josh not going out on a limb. Like he's maybe trying to preserve Rachel as an ally and not trying, you know, maybe he's hoping that Rachel will still be his close ally and that Kaycee wouldn't be mad at him. But as we saw, Kaycee then got mad at him, literally in the elimination arena, as we saw later, literally like blaming Josh for almost everything in this. And I think like that's where I'm on Josh's side a bit. Once Kaycee and Devin and everyone just starts to blame him for the Vacation Alliance because at the end of the day, like, yes, he didn't go out on a limb for you, but you also have to play your own game and make your own moves.
Yes, but I feel like if the roles were reversed and Kaycee had someone there that she was close with and did not fight for Josh, he would be in hysterics. He would be sobbing in confessional more than he already was this episode, and he would expect that in return. So it's just this weird like quid pro quo type thing where maybe not that as a return, but it's this like I'll give you this for that. And
That's exactly what quid pro quo means.
I just always hear it in sexual harassment courses. So I'm like, okay, quid pro quo, but Josh is not quitting his pro or whatever that is. He's not holding up his side of the bargain. Like, hey, I've got all these promises that I will say I'll keep for you, but he's not giving it to the people who actually would keep it for him, I guess is my stance.
I'm with you there because I felt like it was a little much and maybe it was some misplaced frustration with the position that they were put in. But I also think you can't make like your brand and your personality on the show being part of an alliance, the Vacation Alliance, and then not be willing to speak up for them to someone that you're friends with. It's harder to do with someone that you don't have a relationship with. But if you do have this relationship with Rachel, you can say, hey, I know your game is your game and I'll respect anything you do, but I have to and give the whole spiel. Like the fact that he just sat there listening and being like, yeah, I get it. You get to do what you want to do. Like he didn't even fight for them at all. I understand why they were frustrated.
Josh gets far in this game, farther than he should, because of the Vacation Alliance. Josh has also never made a final. Those are two things that are true at the same time. And it's like I don't blame him for playing a selfish game because I do think at times like the consistent loyalty to his allies has put him in some really bad game positions where it's not possible for him to win. But he also wouldn't be here if not for them. So I'm all over the place with this because I think there's layers to it all where I don't fully blame him. And I like to clown on Josh, but I didn't hate the move here.
Well, there was no move.
No move. Yeah, then you know what? Maybe sometimes the best move is no move. Okay.
Well, quick question. Do you think that the Vacation Alliance can work on future seasons together without it just being like the total obvious, we've got to target them? Because it's been unspoken, but
I think specifically when I'm talking about like Devin and Tori and maybe even Kaycee. Kaycee doesn't really do anything. Kaycee doesn't make moves, whatever. But like Devin and Tori, I think at this point will use Josh as long as is necessary and then will not give a fuck.
I think Josh Brandon himself is someone you just cannot trust in this game for any future season, which I really hope Josh makes the final this season because I think he's just fucked on any future season with what he did with Bananas on like USA 2 and West, where he's just lying and just being, overstretching promises. But I also don't think it's fair that they're completely blaming him for their own game and their own choices because they did self-nominate. They had the ability to talk to Rachel, and maybe don't tell Rachel you have an unspoken alliance. Maybe if you're Devin, don't piss so many people off with your attitude. Like,
Yeah, I agree about everything. It is
and
new.
it also helps that Ryan and Rachel are close. Like nothing real to say about that except for they're close. That probably factored into it.
exactly.
I want to add one more wrinkle is that Rachel seems to hate Devin. So I think she wanted the strongest possibility of Devin going home.
Do you guys want to talk any bit about the deliberation itself, or just like, we basically said who's going into elimination.
Nothing really happened in the deliberation.
Any thoughts on Kylan just from this episode of like he had a little moment where like Rachel tells him the news that he's going in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you came up with a plan that you're going to align with us," and then he has this little reactionary moment, the fake joke reactionary moment when he got voted in.
Oh yeah, like that was just a stupid boy joke, I think.
Yeah, just odd.
Yeah, that was just a little bit being quirky, but yeah, no. It was a foregone conclusion that Kylan and Kaycee were going in.
Elimination time then. We jump in and people have this elimination. We're playing a similar elimination to Vendettas, where you had to light up 40 beams of light, where Devin famously beat Bananas. Devin is in this elimination, so looked real fishy. The very big difference, though, is that you're just untangling wires in this elimination. That's the whole point of it. You untangle wires, plugs to plug them into the right outlets. And once you get all 40, you win the elimination. Simple as that. Best or
Yeah.
best or worst elimination ever?
Interesting on paper, but like I don't care.
There's definitely been much worse.
For sure.
I think it's better than a lot of the other ones we've seen even recently. Like last week's is good, but yeah, I didn't actually entirely hate it, and I think it would have been a lot more interesting if one of the men didn't completely shit the bed.
Fair.
Devin versus Kyland. They start the elimination, and Devin says, "My strategy isn't to untangle the wires. I'm just gonna grab the right outlets and put them in." Uh, Pretty quickly, he then figures out, oh, if I don't untie them, they will not reach the outlet plugs, which relatable. You ever have like the car charger or the charger that just doesn't reach your phone and you're trying to lay in your bed? It's annoying. But elimination, terrible look. Meanwhile, Kylan is just unwrapping all his cords. I think he's doing pretty well. Just in comparison to Devin, he's doing, I mean,
We'll
doing
never
fantastic.
we'll never really know how well he did.
No, we won't. Because Devin doesn't know how to untangle wires at all. And it was an embarrassing performance. Because this is, I mean, I've joked before, I joked when Devin first self-nominated, oh, because Devin's going in elimination, you know it's not going to be a pull wrestle, you know it's not going to be physical or anything like that. For the 18th time in a row, Devin gets a headbanger type elimination, and it's just untangling wires, and he shits the bed. This elimination was made for him, and he still couldn't do it.
I could not get over how terrible he was. It was shocking. Like I knew he didn't throw it, but that's how bad he did. It felt like he threw it.
Well, it's like, why not readjust your strategy when you look over and see that Kylan is obliterating you?
Do you think his ego's that big?
He was literally cursing people out in the crowd not to help him, or like getting mad when they gave him tips. I think his ego is that big. I think also he didn't quit, or he didn't throw it, but he definitely gave up.
Yeah, I think that some people would rather have a huge loss than lose by a little bit because that stings more. And I think if he were to pick it up and really try, it would be an even bigger like gash to then lose. So I think he gave up.
Yeah, because it's his strategy that lost him that elimination. So by admitting that he had the wrong strategy and then making it close, it's a words are escaping me. It's honestly a miracle I can come up with any coherent sentences on school nights. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give up right now.
Yeah, fair. Bye, Devin.
I'm not ready to say bye just yet, because I think it was truly so disappointing, because we've seen Devin grow so much as a competitor, and we go into the season and I'm like, there are multiple daily challenges where I'm giving him like credit for being the strategist, for showing so much improvement in terms of his fitness. In this daily challenge itself, he killed it, and I thought he'd win this elimination, or I thought he'd have a really good shot at winning this elimination, and instead he just shit the bed in a way where it's like, I can't believe this guy's a champion.
Yeah, and I think week by week, whenever people go home, is this who I want to represent like 40 as the winner? And he's not, so that's why it's not that big of a loss to me, even though it is kind of middle ground. And I would have liked to see more of him and Michelle. But like, I'm okay with it. I think that Double Agents was his time. I don't foresee him getting a dominant win ever again. I do think that he's going to have a different strategy the next season he's on, and that's going to be cool. He's not going to be working so closely with, the Josh and those people because he's got Michelle now too. Or maybe they will. I don't know. But he should have done more to keep Amanda around. I don't know.
I am sad about it because I think he's a good character for this season, mostly because I love when Bananas has an enemy. I think it makes him more interesting. I think that I love to see him taken down and taken out. Like, I don't even like Devin that much, but I like him just in the sense that I'm a Bananas hater. and he's gonna go for him. So it was kind of sad and anticlimactic to lose him in this way. I would have rather seen them go head to head again. Um, and selfishly, he's on my team, so
Yeah.
I was taking an L today, no matter what.
Kylan wins the elimination. He's I think 7-2 in eliminations now all time, and he's got 4 champion wins because he's beaten Darrell twice, he's beaten Brad, and he's beaten Devin, and none of and like besides that Darrell win where he just snuck it by, 3 of them haven't even been close. Um, I don't want to say this elimination was non-physical because Kylan was drenched in like so much sweat after it. So maybe it was tough for time to tangle those wires or just the stress of it all. Good for him though. I mean, he's clearly. I mean, at this point in the game, when you look at who's left, he's a contender to win. And Derek Chavez keeps saying it almost every time. Like that is like Derek Chavez's purpose on this show right now is to be like, oh my God, Kylan is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't even know how well he did in this elimination. I can't get over that. So, well, I hope that he hasn't become too big of a target on this season. I don't want to see him getting targeted every week, but I also fear that both with his performance and the way he moves in the house, he's going to get targeted a lot.
That feels like a certainty. He also might just self-nominate again for the 18th billion time. Women's elimination. Tori versus Kaycee. And the funniest thing was that this was a split-second buzzer beater type elimination where you don't know who won type things, and yet it was still very boring and underwhelming.
Yeah, brother.
Oh, genuine pain across my face the entire time. It's like, what? Yeah, I could not care any less than I did watching it the first time. Tori sticking around is better than Kaycee, I feel, just in terms of entertainment. But like, okay. I need Kaycee to not be cast anymore. I'm so serious. Like, there was nothing.
I don't think any of us disagree with you, but we just know it's not going to happen. Like
I know, I agree.
Kaycee is a guarantee for the next 10 years?
We'll be canceled by then.
Hey, we've lasted this long.
True. I hope it's not. I mean, I enjoyed the show, but I like give us somebody else. And like if we're casting her because she's a lesbian or because she's an Asian woman, love it. But there are lots of lesbians, lots of Asian women. Like I'd hate to think they're casting her as an archetype, I guess. But like I don't know what she brings to the show except for that she's a champ when that season should have been Tori's championship. The relationship with Nany, cute. Love that. They got together, Total Madness. The seasons after, cute. They've run their course. Like if Nany were back home pregnant, like awesome. I love that that's the story. But we didn't even get a phone call from Nany this season. I was really hoping to have seen that. And it sounds like Nany didn't care. The picture they showed of her talking about them being engaged, Nany's face wasn't even in it. Like the picture of the vacation alliance, they blacked out Fessy and Nany. She's nothing without Nany on this show. So I hope they reevaluate. Okay, my spiel's over. Sorry.
Cosign, fully cosign, Luke. I mean, I'm at the insanity's point with Kaycee. I tweeted, I think 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, that like her winning a challenge season has like devastated this franchise. And people got really mad at me. But I was like, I still stick to that point. Like if I could change like one thing in time, it'd be like her to have never won or just even be on the show. She's a really good competitor. But she's so good that she actively hurts the show because she's not bringing any storyline. She's not bringing anything.
If she were single, it'd be wonderful. Okay.
Different, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want her to be, but yeah.
Just if there was a season they were gonna leave Kaycee off of, it was Ride or Dies, and we were cursed with her even more boring, bland, and in every way unimpressive brother.
Well, and I'm sorry, Josh was an alt for that season. Like for many people, because he's got so many friends, that would have made so much more sense.
I'm
We
like,
got
but
Kenny fucking Clark.
if they were gonna leave, that was the prime opportunity to leave Kaycee off a season, and they couldn't even do it then. So like, we just have to give it up. We're cursed with Kaycee.
Yeah.
We have to deal with it.
That's true.
Kenny Clark is the person who has changed my opinion about challenge casting, where I will believe anyone can be on the show now. I genuinely think that one of the three, like there's a non-zero, like I'm not, it's less than 0.01%, but I do think there's a non-zero chance any of us could be on if Kenny Clark could be on. Like it's gotten to that point with the show, because that was the worst casting this show's ever had.
Period.
So yeah, Tori beats Kaycee, brother for brother, Kane and Abel type stuff, Kane and Undertaker type stuff. They try to really make us feel like we're emotionally invested in these two as like close friends, and it's like, no, we hate the Vacation Alliance. Like, Tori's more tolerable of the situation. I will know, I was looking at confessionals for this season, and Tori has, I think, the third or fourth most confessionals for women, which I find just shocking because she just really hasn't been much part of this season, but she's just talking on our screen.
Yeah.
She's our narrator, I guess, for some things. She's explaining all the dynamics between everyone else that's interacting, not her.
It's a good win for Tori, though. I mean, beat Kaycee, beat John A and USA 2. She's racked up some elimination wins, so good for her. More importantly, we move on. Kaycee gone, Devin gone. It's now an individual game. And I think that's the thing we've been expecting. It's exciting. Kind of something we get like maybe a partners format and then an individual game, but free for all, super fun.
I'm a little bit glad it's not partners, only because double agents, spies, lies, and allies, ride or dies, like they beat us to hell with the partners. Next season, let's go for it. But also, I would hate to be stuck with Ryan. I mean, honestly, like not even making a joke. Can you imagine, like, all right, partner time, like, Cara Maria, you're with Ryan. I'd be like, what? It is time to break these teams up. I think if there's still a man on Era 1 with Rachel, I would keep it going a little bit longer. But the fact that she's so low, it just doesn't make sense. And I only say that because looking in the stands, I was like, if both of the Era 3 people go home, that's a small team too. But it makes sense.
Off top, let's just do a basic. All right, who do we think is the top contender on the male side? I think it's pretty clear that it's Jordan. So that's number one. I think he was number one coming into this game. They've let him get to final 9 without seeing an elimination, even though they had multiple shots now.
Dare I say who I think number 2 is?
I go for your number 2. Yeah.
Kyland, in my opinion.
I think it's Theo.
I'm going with experience. Johnny Bananas. I mean, 7.
Oh, I forget that he's here.
7-time champion. He's throwing curveballs again. He's throwing some. He doesn't have his fastball, but he's throwing curveballs.
That's fair. And you saying that too. I'll still probably take Corey over Kyland at this point. But like,
I'm blinded by hatred. I can admit it. I won't ever admit it, even if I think it. I just want to be clear about that.
Can we work backwards?
Yeah, Ryan 9.
Okay.
8.
Derek.
Well, Ryan would be 10 because there's. Oh no, you're right. 9. 8 is either Josh or Derek, but I think it's Derek. Josh has improved so much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's only fair because we hyped up Derek so much after All Stars 4, and then on this season he's like there. I wouldn't count out Nehemiah either for being like one of the upper guys, just because he's a sleeper almost.
I'm willing to say that I won't be shocked if Nehemiah makes the final. I won't be shocked if Nehemiah comes in second place. I think he's the Colleen of this season though. Because Colleen was like the second place woman last season, where it's like there's just not much of an edit behind him for me to believe he's winning. I mean, he has negative points in our wallpaper fantasy standings right now. So I like Nehemiah. I put a lot of respect on his name as a competitor. Just the edit just doesn't make me believe he could win.
Yeah,
Ah.
Josh is on the bottom end.
I'm invested in a Corey win though. Like that is like in terms of what I'm invested in. That's what I'm probably cheering for the most because I think he's bringing a lot to the show. I think he's bringing some fire.
And how sweet would that be for me? A Corey fan.
I don't like Corey.
I know.
So
There are times I don't like him either, but
to
like
be
at
fair,
this,
I don't like most of the men. Like the options, it's just I'm biased. I don't like men. Um,
It's a joke though that they let Jordan still here without like really having any fire under his ass the whole time. Like he's in such a golden position to win against the rest of this cast.
well, and honestly, I want Jordan to win because I want it to cement that he's the best, regardless of number of wins. I truly believe Jordan is the best. So I would like to see him win.
Jordan also has three women who have his back with Tori, Laurel, and Naya. Like that's 1/3 of the female cast left. Like he has other female allies too, but those three are like they got his back like no matter what. So that's big. Women's side of the game. Let's talk about who can't win first.
Nice.
Naya,
Olivia.
Olivia. Michelle's never been to a final.
Yeah.
I really want to see Michelle in the final, but I worry about it being. She brought it up in the episode. Like she's like, nope, don't like this. No, I like to hide on my little team. I'm better on a team. I'm not good as an individual, which I respect the hell out of that, honestly. But she is. If people get to choose their opponent at any point, she is a like walking pick me sign because she's just so undersized.
Yeah. And as for the I really think the top 5 women are interchangeable.
I agree.
Like we've not seen Rachel in a final recently, but I don't think we need to. Her, Laurel, Cara, Tori, Jenny, unless Jenny's lungs give out, because whoa. But like, I don't know who I would put first there.
No, I think at any given day it could be different.
Well, in the final could be anything. It could be a crapshoot, but
And there's all these points that we don't know about.
We'll get to that in a minute. Jenny was my pick before the season. Um, I would say how the season's gone though, like there's obviously some fire between Team of One Rachel. Like there's some like really like the edits heavily behind her. There could be a very Camilla edit Laurel type situation of like Dirty 30 where so something I was looking at recently with confessionals is that Laurel is actually kind of in the middle when it comes to women in terms of like average confessionals, which I was very shocked by because she's such a big presence in every episode, but they're not really letting her talk too much, which I think is kind of telling.
I think they're doing a lot to protect her in this season.
I will say the edit tonight, like I watched the episode and I think about this all the time. I do with Survivor. A lot of praise for Tori. Like from everybody, and specifically Jordan being like, I want Tori to figure out how good she is. She's not realized it yet, but she's going to soon. I thought, what? Is this like the most foreshadowing ever? But
That's a good point. No, I thought the same too. That is a very, and I actually kind of agree with Jordan too, where I think she's kind of been lost in the shuffle a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, I said it before, like, why does she have so many confessionals? But it's just because I don't really think she's been important to the plot. But I think she's a good player.
I don't like Tori. She was robbed on World of Worlds 2 and Spies, Lies, and Allies, and Double Agent should have been, or whatever it was, Ride or Dies should have realistically been her third win. I mean, I think a 2-time champ at that point would have been targeted, but she is pretty good.
Yeah, and did she mess up the axe throw on USA 2? Was that what happened?
She kind of shit the bed on the final.
No, she just like I remember she was like in last place and then she caught up and then there was like the axe throw portion where if you missed it, you basically lose the final and that's what happened to her and Fessy. I remember Fessy was like in a really good spot to win the final and then just because he couldn't do 1 out of 5 axe throws, he lost.
My top picks won, Desi and Chris.
That's all he remembers.
Yeah. So, karma points worth bringing up?
Yeah, karma points. At the end of the episode, TJ brings up the whole karma points aspect, tells it to Devin and Kaycee. I did like that Kaycee gave everyone ones except for Tori, and then she just gave her five because I think that's like if you want your person to win, I feel like that's the approach you take.
That's actually being a good friend.
Yeah.
But the frustrating thing is we are now into episode 9. MTV refuses to give us a live online thing where we see the karma points given out after every episode. You know, the same way they reveal the votes on Survivor. If they did it, it would just be such a fun thing to have as like online additional content to watch every week. And also, it would make us feel less like this show is going to be rigged.
Mm.
And I almost said they might release them once they announce the winners, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I will be shocked if MTV ever like takes that out of the vault.
Karma points are the shadow that is looming over this season that could like really ruin it in the worst way possible. And I do like that TJ is at least hammering home the idea of like, you should, care about having friends in this house. But even then, it feels fake and contrived, and also like
How you treat people matters, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I want drama though, like too, like so.
I know. I don't want them to dissuade people from like having genuine conflict in future seasons with this stuff. Like it's already bland enough half the time. Let's not dissuade them from getting into it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Anything else? Oh, we have to talk about the fact that even though it's an individual game, targeting still exists, and so the men and women's elimination winners had to then target 3 people. Tori, who is she's trying to avenge Devin, which I think is like her and Michelle, based on each other, seemingly are like very much against Bananas now. So she nominates Bananas, takes a shot at him, but then she she shoots him with some BB pellets by nominating Ryan and Derek as well, which are the 2 guys she's least connected with. But if you're gonna take a shot at Bananas, you got to stack the deck with people who could maybe beat Bananas.
I get it to some extent, but also it's like she would have had to take a shot at her own team or a shot at Era 4, who's also had her back.
Yeah.
I am excited that she took a shot at Bananas. Even if, like you said, it's not going to matter. Good. Like
You put up Nehemiah though. Put up Nehemiah with them because Nehemiah can eliminate Bananas.
I think she
almost,
should have done Bananas, Nehemiah, Theo.
I would have been smart. Yeah,
but
I
I'm
think
also curious if, and I truly do not know this, I'm curious if she nominates 3 and there's still going to be a 4th option of someone who gets last in the daily.
Yeah.
that would be really good. Hopefully Ryan's out the door this week because he's been here way too long.
Yeah.
So Bananas and Ryan potentially facing off would be a good blow off for whatever thing they've had. Ryan versus Derek of like, you know what, they actually are friends type stuff. That's a storyline. For the women's nominations, Kylan nominated Rachel because she put him in, which makes sense. But I do think, she was just a target type thing. So maybe, in previous formats, the target didn't have to go in again a second time. So he puts in Rachel, and then he goes for the 2 women with the least connections, and he goes for Aviv and Jenny.
Oh, Jennifer.
It was so funny watching him throw Jenny in, and honestly, I get it. Like, you're the only one that's working with Bananas in this whole house. Like, I can't trust you. Let's call it how it is. I know she was pissed, but good. She's just as much wallpaper as Kaycee.
Oh, yeah.
I just like seeing her all angry and fired up.
At least she doesn't get angry. So props to her for that.
What do you think about them continuing the twist at this point in the game?
I don't like it because it does not incentivize people to do their best. Like we said, even in today's daily, like if Kara dropped, she wasn't at risk. So was there really any stake?
I also think it's giving too much power to the people on the bottom of the game socially who are getting put into elimination. I get it, like you win, you want them, they win, you let them pick the order. Let them, like, you can give people some sort of power in the game without giving them too much power.
Yeah. Because I do need to see how it plays out. Does this make every other person there safe for the next daily?
I assume so, yeah. I mean,
It's like,
I don't know. I don't know if there's ever been a twist that's had me so divided because throughout this season, I've seen some people complain, and it was a complaint that I had is that, like, well, 40 to 60% of the house is safe. They don't have to try in the daily now because they don't have targets on them. But we've also seen with this targeting twist, players have had to fight in this game that we typically don't have to early on. Like CT, Emily, Horacio. I mean, Horacio has to go into every elimination anyway. But we've seen people have to like find ways out of situations, like Laurel and Bananas, Jordan. We've seen people have to play the game in creative ways. So I think it's been really cool in some ways, but then other ways like this, how people are just gonna be able to coast, kind of sucks.
yeah. And I just had the thought too, we're on episode 9. Do you think they're going to send 2 people home for multiple episodes? Or do you think it's going to switch to like him being like, ladies, you're safe. Guys, you're safe.
I hope they stay with the 2 people gone.
I do too.
Well, we got the mid-season trailer also at the end of the episode, and there were a lot of daily challenges in that trailer, based or just like looks of like different challenges type stuff. So I think we're gonna have one person going at some point because there's just so much stuff going on that I can't imagine is gonna be 2 people out at once.
Mm.
Because if so, we'd have the final real soon. Could have a redemption house. Who knows though? That's a wrinkle we just always have to like consider.
Yeah.
We had redemption just a writer dies.
Yeah.
Did I
We
forget?
sound we don't sound super excited for next week's episode, but I assure you we are. We just had the
I
very long.
actually am.
No,
I'm
yeah,
really excited.
I'm geared up. Let's.
I mean, if we lose like Ryan and Aviv next episode, it'll be like, okay, fine. But we have to lose them eventually, so might as well happen soon.
Yeah.
This season has felt like a road trip where that obviously that Laurent Car episode was like we went up a giant mountain and then went downhill at a crazy speed, and now we've just been going on the same road for going 55 miles an hour for just like 5 hours.
I need Laurel to get her comeuppance. I need it to happen.
We just need another big shakeup. We need to go up a mountain again because it hasn't been bad, but the roller coaster has just been straight for a long time. Any other thoughts?
Mercenaries would be great. People who said no to the 10 weeks but would have just flown in for one elimination would have been really cool. It's not going to happen, so don't get your hopes up. But
that would be great as like the final or the second to last elimination. They bring them in the same way they brought in CT and Cutthroat.
Bring West, eliminate Bananas right before the final.
I was thinking someone more exciting. I was thinking like that would be like the best.
We
time.
got Landon for one singular whatever. The Miz was able to work it out with whatever wrestling what he does. Like Coral has shown up in her doula outfit and does not care, but she's on our screen. Sarah Rice is here. Like, yeah. But they hate us.
They just lack creativity.
Yeah. They lack casting people who know the show.
Well, hopefully we get another elimination where people have to untangle wires. That's what people really want. That's what we want to get next week. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you find us. Have a great week, everyone. We really appreciate you all for listening. Have a good one. Individual game now.